Gray November morning. I'm sitting across from Dennis Palmer, watching him flip through my promotion request like it's a grocery store flyer. 5 years of extra shifts, missed fishing trips, weekends away from Tommy and Lisa, all of it stuffed into a binder that he barely glances at. The office smells like stale coffee and printer toner. Through the window I can see the shop floor where I started 5 years ago. Guys in safety vests moving between machines that I know better than anyone in this building. Dennis doesn't even look up when he starts talking. Look, Jake, you do solid work. Real solid. But leadership's about more than just being reliable. What do you mean? I ask, though I already know this conversation is heading nowhere good. Vision. Strategic thinking. You're great at the nuts and bolts, but can you see the forest for the trees? My jaw tightens. I've been here too long to fall apart over a few words, but the dismissive tone cuts deeper than I expected. I've spent 5 years proving myself to this company, and Dennis treats my work like it's maintenance instead of the foundation that keeps this place running. I kept Meridian Industries happy for 3 years, built documentation systems from scratch when Peterson quit without leaving so much as a sticky note. I'm first in, last out every day. That's operational excellence. Leadership is different. It's about inspiring people, making tough calls. He shuffles the papers like they're contaminated. Tell you what, let's revisit this in 6 months. Show me some strategic initiatives. Strategic initiatives. The man who hasn't set foot on the production floor in 6 months wants to lecture me about vision. I bite back the response I want to give and focus on staying professional. What kind of initiatives? Surprise me. Right now we've got that supplier situation with North Star. Their invoices have been inconsistent. Handle that, then we'll talk strategy. I stand up, controlling the anger that's been building for months. Through the glass partition, I catch Michelle Santos watching our meeting from her desk. She's been here longer than Dennis, knows every vendor relationship by heart. If there's a problem with North Star, she'd be the first to know. Sure, I'll handle it. Walking out, I pass the corner office with the big windows. Empty desk, morning light streaming across polished wood. The office I've been eyeing for 2 years. Danny Wright nods at me from his workstation. We started the same week, but he never pushed for advancement. Seems content running his crew, going home at 5 sharp to coach his daughter's soccer team. Sometimes I wonder if he's got the right idea. Rough meeting? Danny asks as I pass. Same old story. Keep working hard, maybe someday Dennis still playing the strategic vision card? Every time. You know what strategic vision means? It means I don't understand the business well enough to make his mistakes. Danny laughs, but it's not entirely friendly. Careful, Jake. That kind of talk gets around. He's right. Hartwell is a small company. 28 full-time employees, everybody knows everybody's business. But that's what makes Dennis's dismissal sting more. These people see my work every day. They know I've kept this place running smoothly while Dennis takes credit at quarterly reviews. That evening, I come home to the familiar chaos of Lisa making dinner while Tommy builds something elaborate with Legos on the living room floor. Our house is modest but warm. We bought it right after I got hired at Hartwell, back when we thought steady work meant steady progress. Dad, look what I built. That's incredible, buddy. What is it? It's a hospital for robots. They get broken and I fix them. He demonstrates how the tiny plastic figures fit on miniature gurneys. This one's battery died, but I'm gonna make him all better. Lisa appears in the doorway, flour dusting her hands from making Tommy's favorite cookies. How was the meeting with Dennis? About what you'd expect. No promotion? 6 more months. Maybe, if I can demonstrate strategic thinking. What does that even mean? It means Dennis doesn't want to give up control of anything that matters. The phone rings, cutting through our conversation. Lisa answers from this kitchen, and I watch her face change in that way that tells me something fundamental just shifted in our world. It's Dr. Webb from Children's Hospital, she says, covering the phone with her flour-dusted hand. I take it, feeling my world tilt. We've been waiting 3 days for blood test results after Tommy complained about being tired all the time. 3 days of Lisa and me exchanging worried glances when he fell asleep on the couch at 6 p.m., when he didn't want to finish his favorite meals, when he said his legs hurt for no reason we could understand. Mr. Morrison, we have Tommy's test results. I need you and Lisa to come in tomorrow morning. Is it serious? We'll discuss everything tomorrow. Both of you, please. Can you be here at 9? Yes, doctor. Webb, can you just tell me if I really need to discuss this with both parents present? I'll see you at 9. That night, I stare at the ceiling while Lisa pretends to sleep beside me. Through the thin walls, I can hear Tommy's steady breathing from his room. The room we painted bright blue when we moved in, back when our biggest worry was whether the mortgage payment would go up if interest rates changed. Lisa turns over, her voice barely a whisper. It's probably nothing. Kids get tired. Growth spurts, maybe iron deficiency. Yeah, I say. Probably. But we both know it's not nothing. You don't schedule early morning appointments with both parents for iron deficiency discussions. And the blood work they ordered wasn't routine. I saw the lab slip. Complete blood count, peripheral blood smear, white cell differential. Tests that look for things you don't want to find. Jake, yeah? If it's something bad, we'll handle it, right? Whatever it is, we'll handle it. I say it with more confidence than I feel. Handle it how? With what resources? With what plan? But Lisa needs to hear certainty, so I give her the only thing I can. A promise I hope I can keep. The next morning, doctor. Sarah Webb sits across from us in her office, medical charts spread on the desk like evidence in a trial. She's younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, with the kind of careful composure that comes from delivering life-changing news regularly. The office is designed to be comforting. Soft colors, children's artwork on the walls, a box of tissues strategically placed within reach. Tommy has acute lymphoblastic leukemia. It's aggressive but very treatable in children his age. Lisa grabs my hand, her knuckles white. The words hang in the air like smoke. I've heard the word leukemia before, but suddenly it's not an abstract medical term. It's my son's diagnosis, my family's new reality. The survival rate with proper treatment is over 90%. We've caught it early, which is good news. Tommy's young, healthy, strong, but we need to move quickly. What does treatment look like? Lisa asks, her voice steady despite the tears starting to form. Intensive chemotherapy protocol. 3 distinct phases over 18 months. First phase is induction. 4 weeks of daily treatments designed to kill the cancer cells and achieve remission. This is the most intensive part. Tommy will be in the hospital frequently, sometimes overnight stays. Dr. Webb pulls out a timeline chart, pointing to different phases with a pen. Then consolidation therapy for about 8 weeks. This prevents the cancer from returning to the central nervous system. Finally, maintenance therapy for roughly 14 months, less intensive but consistent treatment to prevent relapse. I'm doing math in my head, trying to process timelines while my world crumbles. 18 months. A year and a half of our lives dedicated to fighting something that shouldn't exist in an 8-year-old body. He'll lose his hair during the first month of induction. There will be nausea, fatigue, increased infection risk because the chemotherapy suppresses his immune system. But Mr. and Mrs. Morrison children are remarkably resilient. Most adapt to the routine fairly quickly. What about school? Lisa asks. We have hospital tutors. Many children can maintain some schoolwork during treatment, though there will be periods where he's too sick. The key is maintaining as much normalcy as possible. What does this cost? I ask, hating myself for the question but needing to know. Total treatment approximately $450,000 over the full protocol. The room spins. That's more than I make in 6 years. That's more than our house is worth. Your insurance plan covers 60%. Out of pocket will be around $180,000. I do the math quickly. Savings, $23,000. Annual salary, $68,000. The gap is insurmountable. Even if I never spent another dollar on anything else, it would take 3 years to save that much money. And Tommy doesn't have 3 years. What if we can't afford? There are payment plans, charity programs through the hospital foundation. We have social workers who specialize in helping families navigate financial aspects of treatment. But Mr. Morrison, time is critical with this type of leukemia. We need to start induction therapy within 2 weeks. Every day we delay gives the cancer more time to spread. The urgency hits me like a physical blow. Not months to figure out payment, not even weeks to explore options. Days. We have days to find a way to afford saving our son's life. Walking to the parking garage, Lisa breaks down completely. 5 years of marriage, and I've never seen her this scared, this helpless. She leans against our car, shoulders shaking with sobs that seem to come from somewhere deeper than grief. How, Jake? How do we find that kind of money? I don't know, but we will. My parents can maybe help with $20,000. Your dad's already helping with his own medical bills since the stroke. I hold her in the echoing concrete garage, feeling the weight of complete helplessness. In my pocket, my phone buzzes with a text from Dennis about the North Star vendor issue. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm about to investigate procurement problems while facing financial ruin. We'll figure it out, I tell Lisa, though I have no idea how. What if we can't? What if the payment plans aren't enough? What if... Hey, I lift her chin to meet my eyes. We're not going to lose him. Whatever it takes, whatever we have to do, we're going to save our son. It's a promise made in desperation, but I mean every word. Standing in that parking garage, holding my wife while she cries, I realize I'll do anything, literally anything, to keep Tommy alive. That evening, I'm working late again. The office quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of the night shift starting up. I've always found comfort in the empty building. No meetings, no politics, just me and the work that needs doing. Tonight, though, the solitude feels different, heavier. Roger Caldwell knocks on my office door. At 52, he still looks like the machinist he was when he started this company with a single contract and a borrowed truck. He hired me personally 5 years back, and I've always felt like he saw something in me that others missed, something Dennis apparently can't see. Working late again, Jake? Just catching up on vendor reconciliation. Trying to figure out what Dennis was talking about with North Star. He comes in and closes the door, his expression more serious than usual. Roger doesn't do closed-door conversations unless something's wrong. In 5 years, I can count on one hand the number of times he's closed my office door. Funny you mention that. I've been getting calls from suppliers over the past few months. Payment delays, confusion about invoices, things that never happened when Peterson was running procurement. My pulse quickens. Peterson was the old procurement manager who quit abruptly 3 years ago, leaving Dennis to take over the vendor relationships. Peterson was methodical, detail-oriented, never had a supplier complaint in 15 years. Then he gave 2 weeks' notice and was gone, leaving behind filing cabinets full of contracts and a procurement system that Dennis claimed to understand. What kind of calls? North Star says they're owed money we already paid. Pacific Metal claims we authorized expedite charges we never requested. Midwest Industrial is asking about consulting fees that aren't in any of our contracts. Roger sits down across from my desk and I see something I've never seen before in his eyes. Worry about the company he built from nothing. Jake, I'm going to ask you something, and I need a straight answer. Of course, I hired you 5 years ago because I saw integrity. Real integrity, not the kind people perform at company meetings. That hasn't changed, has it? What do you mean? Dennis has been handling procurement for 3 years. Before that, we never had supplier complaints. Our vendor relationships were solid, payments were clean, everything ran smoothly. Now I'm getting calls weekly from companies we've worked with for years, all asking about money and services that don't match our records. He leans forward, and I see the man who built this company from nothing, still sharp, still protective of what he's created, still personally invested in every relationship that makes this business work. I need someone I trust to look into this quietly, someone with technical knowledge who can make sense of the numbers, who understands our systems. Can you do that? I realize I'm being put in an impossible position. Tomorrow I need to start begging for money to save my son's life. Tonight, Roger is asking me to investigate the man who might be my only lifeline. Roger, I should tell you, Tommy's sick. Really sick, we just found out today. His expression immediately softens, and for a moment he looks less like a company owner and more like the father of 3 grown children he raised while building this business. Jesus, Jake, what kind of sick? Leukemia. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Treatment's gonna cost us about $180,000 out of pocket. Christ. He runs a hand through his gray hair. Jake, if you need time off, if you need help with medical bills, I need to work. I need the insurance. And honestly, I need the distraction, of course. But about the vendor situation, if this is bad timing, I think of Tommy in that hospital bed, of Lisa's tears in the parking garage, of Dennis casually mentioning North Star issues this morning while my son's cancer diagnosis hung over everything else in my life. No, Roger, I'll look into it. Quietly. You sure? Yes, you can count on me. Good. Keep this between us for now. Just see what you can find. If there are problems, I need to know before they get worse. After he leaves, I sit alone in the fluorescent-lit office, knowing I'm about to investigate the man I might desperately need to make a deal with. The irony is bitter. Roger trusts me to expose corruption at the exact moment when corruption might be my family's salvation. I pull up the vendor files, starting with North Star Supply. Time to see what Dennis has been hiding. The next 3 days blur together in a haze of hospital visits, insurance phone calls that go nowhere, and late nights diving into Hartwell's procurement files. Tommy handles the medical tests better than Lisa and I handle watching them. Blood draws, bone marrow biopsy, chest x-rays, echocardiogram to check heart function before chemotherapy, insertion of a central venous catheter for treatment access. He asks questions about everything, curious about the machines and procedures like it's a field trip instead of cancer staging. Dad, why does the medicine have to go through this tube in my chest instead of just pills? Because this way it gets to where it needs to go faster, buddy. Like express delivery instead of regular mail. Does it hurt? A little bit, but it helps more than it hurts. Like when you have to pull off a Band-Aid really fast? Exactly like that. Dr. Webb explains the urgency timeline during Tommy's pre-treatment consultation. The cancer is aggressive. His white blood cell count has doubled in the past week. Every day matters. We'll start induction therapy Monday morning. That's 5 days from now. Tommy will receive vincristine, daunorubicin, L-asparaginase, and prednisone in carefully timed cycles. The first week will be the hardest. His body will react strongly to the chemotherapy. What should we expect? Lisa asks, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, hair loss starting around day 10. His immune system will be compromised, so we'll need to monitor for infections constantly. Plan on spending 3 to 4 days a week at the hospital for the first month. 3 to 4 days a week. I calculate the lost work time, the lost income, the mounting bills. Even with the best insurance, the copays and deductibles will be crushing. Late Thursday night, I'm hunched over my computer, cross-referencing purchase orders with delivery receipts. My technical background comes in handy here. I built most of these tracking systems, know every field and formula. What I'm seeing doesn't make sense, and the deeper I dig, the more systematic the problems become. First discrepancy. North Star Supply invoice, $89,000 for steel delivery, October 15th. Delivery receipt, only $67,000 worth actually received, October 12th. Payment authorization, Dennis Palmer, October 16th. I frown and check another month. September shows the same pattern. August, July, going back 6 months. Consistent overbilling, always approved by Dennis, always paid without question. I build a comprehensive spreadsheet, tracking multiple vendors over the past 18 months. North Star, 25% overbilling monthly, averaging $22,000 excess per payment. Pacific Metal, mysterious expedite charges totaling $67,000 with no expedite documentation. Midwest Industrial, consulting fees of $45,000 with no consulting contracts or deliverables. The technical side of my brain kicks into overdrive. This isn't random error, it's systematic fraud. I start mapping payment authorization patterns, cross-referencing approval signatures, tracking bank routing numbers. Dennis has signing authority up to $100,000 per vendor payment, a limit Roger established based on trust built over 3 years of apparently clean transactions. But the transactions aren't clean. They're carefully orchestrated theft. Holy shit, I whisper in the empty office. Total discovered over 18 months, $340,000 in fraudulent payments. Then, I find the smoking gun buried in an email thread that was accidentally CC'd to the vendor distribution list instead of Dennis personally. Dennis, your Q3 share ready for pickup. Same arrangement for Meridian expansion? The extra margin helped with Mom's facility bills. Thanks for keeping things smooth on your end. Let me know about the new rates for next quarter. Tony from North Star, I screenshot everything, my hands shaking slightly. Dennis has been systematically stealing from the company while denying me advancement. While I've been working overtime and missing time with Tommy, he's been skimming hundreds of thousands of dollars through fake vendor relationships. But that last line sticks with me, Mom's facility bills. Dennis has family pressures too. Whatever he's doing, it's not just greed, it's desperation, same as what I'm feeling now. Friday morning, Tommy starts his first chemotherapy treatment. The pediatric oncology ward tries to be cheerful. Bright colors, cartoon characters painted on walls, volunteers with therapy dogs walking between rooms. But underneath the decorations, you can feel the weight of what happens here. Children fighting for their lives while their parents fight insurance companies and billing departments. Tommy sits in an oversized recliner, IV in his small arm, already starting to lose the energy that used to keep him building Legos until bedtime. The chemo drugs drip steadily into his central line while he plays games on a tablet the hospital provides, occasionally looking up at me with trust so complete it breaks my heart. Dad, why does the medicine make me feel sick if it's supposed to make me better? Sometimes the good stuff is hard to take, buddy. Like when you have to get a shot to keep from getting worse diseases. Like vegetables? Exactly like vegetables. Your body doesn't like them at first, but they make you stronger. A nurse with Mickey Mouse scrubs hands me the first bill. $23,000. My entire savings account. Gone. Week 1. The financial counselor, a kind woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, sits down with us while Tommy naps in the treatment chair. She's probably had this conversation 1,000 times, but she treats our crisis like it's the first one she's ever seen. I know this is overwhelming. The hospital has several programs that might help. There's a hardship fund for families in financial distress, and we can set up payment plans as low as $1,000 per month. For how long, Lisa asks. Based on your out-of-pocket costs, about 15 years if you go with minimum payments. But that includes zero interest financing, which most medical debt doesn't offer. 15 years. Tommy will be 23 before we're done paying for his childhood cancer treatment. He'll be older than Lisa and I are now. What if we can't make the payments? I ask. The hospital works with families. We're not in the business of destroying people financially. We're here to save lives. But I won't lie to you, Mr. Morrison. This is going to be difficult. That evening, Lisa sits at our kitchen table with a calculator, bank statements, and a pile of medical bills that's already 3 inches thick and will only grow for the next 18 months. We're $15,000 short this month. Already, I'll figure something out. How, Jake? We've maxed both credit cards just getting through the first week. My parents can maybe lend $20,000, but they're still paying off Dad's hip replacement. Your dad can't help with his stroke recovery costs. From the living room, Tommy calls out, "Mom, I'm hungry, but everything tastes like metal." Lisa goes to help him while I stare at the bills, then at the screenshot of Dennis's emails on my phone. The numbers swim together. $180,000 needed, $340,000 stolen, $23,000 gone. I think about Roger's trust, about the look in his eyes when he asked me to investigate. I think about Michelle Santos, who's worked here 15 years and knows every vendor by name who's probably already noticed the same discrepancies I found. I think about Danny Wright, who goes home at 5 every day to coach his daughter's soccer team and save for her college education. Then I think about Tommy, 8 years old, asking why medicine has to taste like metal while poison drips into his veins to save his life. I'll figure something out, I repeat, and this time I think I know what that means. Monday morning, 6 a.m. I'm waiting in Dennis's office when he arrives with his usual coffee and what a weekend attitude. The early shift hasn't started yet, so the administrative wing is quiet except for the hum of computers booting up and the distant sound of forklifts moving inventory in the warehouse. Early bird today, Jake. Coffee's not even ready in the break room. I've been reviewing the vendor accounts like you asked. The North Star situation. He freezes mid-sip, his expression shifting from casual Monday morning to alert wariness. I've seen that look before. It's the same expression Tommy had when the doctor explained his diagnosis. The look of someone who knows bad news is coming. Found some interesting discrepancies. I place a manila folder on his desk, not the full evidence file, but enough to make my point. North Star invoices, Pacific Metal authorizations, bank routing confirmations. 3 months worth of documentation that shows a clear pattern of fraud. North Star's been consistently overbilling us by about 25%. Pacific Metal's charging for expedite services we never requested. Midwest Industrial has consulting fees with no corresponding contracts in our files. Dennis doesn't touch the folder, but his eyes flick to it like it might explode. The coffee mug trembles slightly in his hands. Paperwork errors happen, Jake. Vendor relationships are complicated. Peterson left a mess when he quit. I'm sure there are explanations. I'm sure there are. I pause, letting the silence stretch. Dennis, my son was diagnosed with leukemia last week. Treatment's going to cost my family about $180,000 out of pocket. Something shifts in his expression, calculation mixed with what might be genuine sympathy. For a moment, he looks less like a manager and more like a man who understands desperation. Jesus, Jake, I'm sorry. That's rough. Kids shouldn't have to go through that. I've been with this company 5 years. Good performance reviews, no disciplinary actions, consistently exceeding targets. But I'm still in the same position I started in, watching opportunities go to people who understand the politics better than the work. You know, I think you're ready for more responsibility. Then maybe it's time we worked more closely together. Shared some responsibilities. I could focus on operations and quality control. You could handle the strategic vendor relationships without someone looking over your shoulder every month. The room falls silent except for the distant sound of the morning shift starting up. Dennis studies my face, trying to read what I'm really saying. He's smart enough to understand the subtext, experienced enough to recognize a negotiation when he hears one. That could work. More collaboration. I've actually been thinking you deserve more recognition anyway. Your technical knowledge, your attention to detail, those are valuable skills. I'd appreciate that, and I'd stop spending so much time digging through procurement files. Focus on what I do best, keeping the production line running smoothly. Right, and I'll recommend you for that director position. Good team players deserve advancement. There might even be a performance bonus to help with your family situation. Neither of us says what we both understand perfectly. The folder sits on his desk like a contract waiting to be signed. We're two men with family pressures finding a way to help each other survive impossible circumstances. I hope Tommy gets better, Dennis says quietly. Thank you, I think he will, with the right treatment. Kids are tough, tougher than adults sometimes. How's your mother doing? I ask, remembering the email reference to facility bills. His face tightens. Alzheimer's. She's in memory care now. Some days she knows me, some days she thinks I'm her brother who died 20 years ago. It's expensive, but you do what you have to do for family. You do what you have to do, I agree. Within a week, I'm sitting in Roger's office with afternoon sunlight streaming through windows that overlook the production floor I used to manage from below. The view from this side is different. You can see the whole operation, understand how each piece fits together to create something larger than its parts. Dennis spoke very highly of your strategic thinking during our last management meeting. Said you identified some significant cost-saving opportunities in vendor relations. Just doing my job, sir. Well, the board was impressed. We're promoting you to operations director effective immediately. Salary increase to $95,000 annually, plus a $25,000 performance bonus for your recent vendor analysis work. My heart pounds so hard I'm sure Roger can hear it. $25,000. Enough to cover Tommy's treatment for the next 2 months, enough to keep us afloat while we figure out long-term financing. Dennis was particularly impressed with your discretion and judgment in handling sensitive vendor negotiations. Said you found ways to improve relationships while reducing costs. I appreciate his confidence. The board approved the promotion unanimously. We need people who can see the big picture and handle complex situations with finesse. People who understand that sometimes business solutions require creative thinking. That afternoon, I call the hospital billing department from my new office. Larger space, better view, nameplate that reads Jake Morrison, Director of Operations. Mrs. Rodriguez? This is Jake Morrison, Tommy's father. I wanted to discuss payment options for his treatment. Of course, Mr. Morrison. How can I help? I can cover the immediate costs now. The surgery and first round of chemotherapy. Can we set up a structured plan for the remaining balance? Absolutely, this is wonderful news. Let me pull up Tommy's account and we can work out a payment schedule that fits your family's budget. For the first time in weeks, I can breathe. Not easily, not completely, but enough to get through today and tomorrow and the day after that. 3 months later, Tommy's hair is growing back in soft brown waves, and he has color in his cheeks again. His energy returned gradually, first staying awake through dinner, then playing for an hour after school, finally pestering me to teach him chess on Saturday mornings like he used to do. The induction phase was brutal, but Dr. Webb says his response has been textbook perfect. I have the larger office, the director title, business cards with my name embossed in gold. Dennis and I pass in the hallway with professional nods. Two men who understand each other perfectly. We never discuss our arrangement directly, but the understanding is clear. I don't ask questions about vendor relationships. He ensures my continued success at the company. But the success feels hollow. Every compliment from Roger, every congratulation from colleagues, every great job from company leadership sits like a stone in my stomach. I earned this position through technical skill and years of dedication, but I only got it through moral compromise. The promotion money pays Tommy's medical bills, but it doesn't buy peace of mind. I lie awake most nights staring at the ceiling, thinking about the difference between earning something and taking it. In the break room one afternoon, Michelle Santos approaches while I'm refilling my coffee. Michelle has been at Hartwell longer than anyone except Roger. She started as a receptionist 20 years ago and worked her way up to senior administrator. She knows every vendor contract, every payment schedule, every irregularity that crosses her desk. Jake, can I ask you something off the record? My heart rate immediately spikes. Sure, Michelle. These vendor payments Dennis has been approving over the past few months. Some of the numbers don't add up. What kind of numbers? North Star's been billing for steel grades we don't even use on our production line. Pacific Metal has expedite charges for standard deliveries that arrived on normal schedules. Midwest Industrial is charging consulting fees, but I can't find any consulting contracts in our files. I'm sweating now, trying to keep my voice steady while my world threatens to collapse again. Maybe just paperwork errors. You know how complicated vendor relationships can get. Maybe, but Jake, she leans closer, lowering her voice. I've been here 15 years. I know every vendor, every contract, every payment pattern. I can tell you which suppliers deliver early, which ones are always late, which ones have the best prices for specific materials. She pulls out a folder of her own, thicker than mine was, more detailed. This doesn't feel like paperwork errors. The discrepancies are too consistent, too carefully structured. Small enough amounts to avoid triggering automatic audit flags, spread across enough vendors to look like normal business variations. I set down my coffee cup before my shaking hands drop it. Michelle, what are you saying? I'm saying someone's been very careful about taking money in ways that wouldn't show up in routine reviews. Someone with sufficient approval authority and detailed knowledge of our payment systems. Have you talked to Roger about this? Not yet. I was hoping you might help me understand what I'm seeing. You've been looking at vendor relationships recently as part of your new role. You'd know what patterns to look for. This is the moment where I could help her expose the fraud, protect the company, do the right thing. Or I could deflect her investigation, protect my family's financial stability, continue living with compromise. Jake, if something's wrong, Roger needs to know. This company is his life's work. These vendor relationships, they're built on trust that goes back decades. If someone's abusing that trust, I understand your concern, Michelle. If you find anything concrete, you should definitely bring it to Roger. I was hoping you might help. Your technical background, your understanding of the procurement systems. I'm pretty busy with the transition to director duties. But if you put together a formal analysis, I'd be happy to review it. After she leaves, I sit alone in the break room, staring at my coffee while my hands shake. Michelle is good at her job, thorough, loyal to Roger. If she keeps digging, she'll find everything. And when she does, my complicity will be obvious to anyone who looks at the timeline. But there's something else in her voice, genuine concern for the company, for Roger, for the employees who depend on Hartwell for their livelihoods. She's not conducting a witch hunt. She's trying to protect something she believes in. That night, I find Tommy in his room, working on homework at his desk. The central line port in his chest is barely visible under his t-shirt now, and his energy levels are almost back to normal. His latest blood work shows the leukemia in complete remission and doctor. Webb is cautiously optimistic about his long-term prognosis. How's the math homework, buddy? Pretty good, we're learning about percentages. Yeah? Like what? Like if you have 100 toys and you give away 20 toys, what percentage do you have left? 80%. Right. But Dad, what if you give away toys that weren't yours to begin with? Is that different? The question hits me like a physical blow. What do you mean? Like if you took someone else's toys and then gave them away, would that be 80% or would that be stealing? I sit down on his bed, trying to find words that won't lie to my son while not destroying everything we've built. That would be stealing, buddy. Taking things that don't belong to you is always wrong, even if you're trying to help someone. Even if someone really needed the toys, even then, there are right ways to help people and wrong ways. The right ways might be harder, but they're still right. Okay. He goes back to his homework, the moral question resolved in the clear-cut world of 8-year-old ethics. I sit there watching him work, my son who's alive because of stolen money, asking innocent questions about the exact moral compromise that saved his life. 1 week later, Dennis approaches me in the parking lot as I'm heading to my car. The evening shift is just starting, and the parking lot has that transitional feeling. Day workers heading home while night crews arrive for another 8 hours of production work. The November air is sharp, carrying the smell of winter and the sound of machinery starting up inside the building. Jake, we need to talk about an opportunity. What kind of opportunity? Meridian Industries is expanding their operations. Major equipment upgrade, new production line installation, 5-year contract extension. $2 million equipment order flowing through our vendor network. That's great news for them. Great news for us too. With an order that size, there's room for operational flexibility. We could redirect approximately $200,000 through our established vendor channels. Your share would be $50,000. I feel like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at a drop that will change everything. Dennis, I'm not interested in expanding our arrangement. His expression hardens slightly, and for the first time I see something calculating and cold beneath his usual professional demeanor. Jake, this isn't about interest anymore. We're partners now. Partners share opportunities and risks equally. I just want to do my job. Your job includes maintaining certain confidential business relationships. Or have you forgotten our understanding? He steps closer, lowering his voice so passing employees can't hear. The parking lot lights cast harsh shadows across his face, making him look older, more predatory. Think about it carefully. Tommy's doing well, but cancer treatment isn't a one-time thing. Ongoing monitoring, potential relapse protocols, long-term health considerations. Children's medical needs can be unpredictable. Insurance companies can be difficult about covering follow-up care. The threat is subtle but unmistakable. He's not just talking about money anymore. He's talking about Tommy's life, about what happens if I don't continue playing along. You have until Friday to decide. The Meridian opportunity won't wait, and neither will our other business relationships. He walks away, leaving me shaking in the parking lot under fluorescent security lights, finally understanding that I'm not just compromised, I'm trapped. This isn't a one-time deal that helped my family through a crisis. It's a lifestyle, a permanent arrangement where every choice I make will be dictated by the need to maintain our criminal partnership. That night, I barely touched dinner. Lisa notices immediately. "You've been quiet all week. What's going on?" "Just work stress. Budget reviews, year-end planning. Jake, I know you. This isn't work stress. This is something else." Tommy looks up from his spaghetti, his face concerned in the way that breaks your heart because 8-year-olds shouldn't have to worry about their parents.
"Dad, are you okay?"
"You look like you did when I was in the hospital." "I'm fine, buddy. Just tired, but I'm not fine." I'm starting to understand what Dennis meant about partnership. This isn't a temporary arrangement to get through Tommy's treatment. It's a permanent relationship that will define every decision I make for the rest of my career. And if I try to back out, Dennis has enough leverage to destroy not just my job, but my family's financial stability and Tommy's ongoing medical care. 2 weeks later, I'm reviewing quarterly financial reports when I notice something that makes my blood freeze and my hands shake as I stare at numbers that shouldn't exist. Employee pension fund contributions from payroll deductions. $127,000 for the quarter, pension fund account balance $47,000. The math is simple and devastating. $80,000 missing from employee retirement accounts. I dig deeper, following money transfers and authorization codes through systems I helped design when we updated the accounting software 2 years ago. The trail is careful, but not invisible. Dennis has been systematically transferring money from the pension fund to general operating accounts, then routing portions to vendor payments where it disappears into the kickback scheme. Our people's retirement money, 28 employees who've been contributing faithfully for years, trusting that their money would be there when they needed it. Danny Wright, who's been putting away 10% of his paycheck for 15 years, planning to retire at 60 and spend time with his grandchildren. Michelle Santos, saving for her kids' college education and her own retirement security. The quarterly report shows $80,000 diverted from the pension fund over the past 6 months alone. This isn't just vendor fraud anymore. Dennis is stealing directly from our people, and I've been helping him by staying silent, by being his partner in a crime that affects every family who works here. I think about the email from North Star mentioning Mom's facility bills. I understand Dennis has family pressures, just like I do. But there's a difference between desperate choices and systematic theft from people who trust you with their future. That evening at dinner, Tommy asks a question that cuts straight through my defenses like a knife through my conscience. "Dad, at the hospital today, I met a kid who can't get the same medicine I got." "What do you mean?" "His mom was crying in the waiting room because their insurance wouldn't pay for the new treatment. She said they might have to choose between medicine and keeping their house." Lisa sets down her fork, her expression pained. "That's heartbreaking. But Dad, if the medicine works, shouldn't everyone get it? Like if there's enough medicine for everyone, why can't everyone have it?" "It's complicated, buddy. Medicine costs money, and not everyone has the same amount of money. But that's not fair. Good people should help other good people, right?" "That's what you always tell me." My fork freezes halfway to my mouth. Here's my son, saved by stolen money, talking about helping others while I sit silent about theft from the retirement funds of the very people who make his treatment possible. "You're right, Tommy. Good people should help each other. So why doesn't someone help that kid? Why don't good people make sure everyone gets medicine?" I can't answer. How do I explain that good people are trying to help, but bad people are stealing the money meant for helping? How do I explain that I'm one of the bad people now? That his medicine was paid for with money stolen from families just like ours? Late that night, I'm alone in the garage, punching the heavy bag I installed last year when I thought my biggest problem was getting promoted. Each impact sends shock waves through my shoulders and blood through my split knuckles, but the physical pain is easier to handle than the emotional weight pressing down on my chest. "You're not a thief," I tell myself between punches. "You're not a criminal. You're a father doing what fathers do." I punch harder, trying to convince myself of something that stopped being true months ago. "Bullshit. You're a thief who found an excuse. You're stealing from Danny's retirement, from Michelle's kids' college fund, from 28 families who trust this company with their future." I punch until my knuckles bleed and my shoulders ache, then collapse against the wall with my head in my hands, finally admitting what I've become. "Dad?" Tommy appears in the doorway in his pajamas, small and worried and innocent in ways I'll never be again. Why are you crying? Just tired, buddy. Mommy says crying is okay. It means you care about something. What do you think I care about? Me and being good. My heart shatters completely. Yeah, buddy. I care about being good. Are you good, Dad? The question hangs in the air like an accusation, like a judgment, like a choice I have to make. I want to tell him yes, that everything I've done has been to protect him, to keep him alive and healthy. But looking at his trusting face, I realize the answer is more complicated than I want it to be. I'm trying to be good, Tommy. Sometimes it's harder than it should be. But you always tell me that doing the right thing is what makes you good, even when it's hard. That's right. So you just have to do the right thing, even if it's really, really hard. He says it like it's the simplest equation in the world. And maybe it is. The next evening, Lisa confronts me in the kitchen while Tommy watches TV in the living room. She's holding bank statements and credit card bills, her expression serious and worried in ways that remind me of the day we got Tommy's diagnosis. Jake, I need to ask you about something, and I need you to tell me the truth. My stomach drops like I'm falling. What about this bonus payment? $25,000. It showed up the same week you got promoted, but it's not listed as salary or benefits. Where did it really come from? I stare at the bank statement knowing I can't lie anymore. Not to Lisa, not after everything we've been through, not when she's looking at me with the same trust Tommy showed when he asked if I was good. Dennis has been stealing from vendors, taking kickbacks, inflating invoices, setting up fake consulting fees. I found out 4 months ago, and we made an arrangement. I don't report him, he gets me promoted and helps with Tommy's medical bills. The silence stretches between us like a chasm that might never be crossed again. So our son's life was saved with stolen money. Our son's life was saved. That's what matters. No, Jake, how it was saved matters too. What kind of man does this make you? What kind of father? The kind who keeps his son alive. Lisa stands up and walks toward the bedroom. I hear dresser drawers opening, the sound of clothes being folded and packed with the efficiency of someone who's thought about this conversation before. What are you doing? I'm taking Tommy to my sister's house. Lisa, please don't do this. I need space to figure out if I can trust the man I married. Right now, I honestly don't know who you are. Everything I did was for this family. No, Jake, everything you did was for you. You couldn't handle feeling helpless, so you made choices that put all of us at risk. How did I put you at risk? What happens when this comes out? Because it will come out, Jake. These things always do. What happens when people find out that Tommy's cancer treatment was paid for with money stolen from their retirement funds? What happens when our neighbors discover that their kids can't go to college because you helped a thief steal their parents' pension money? She's right, and we both know it. When this unravels, not if, when, our family will be at the center of a scandal that destroys everything we've built in this community. Please don't take Tommy away from me. You took yourself away from us the moment you made that deal. We'll be back when you decide who you want to be. I want to be Tommy's father. Then start acting like the kind of father he deserves to have. The kind of man you want him to become. 20 minutes later, I watch my wife and son drive away, taillights disappearing into the evening traffic like the last bit of light leaving my world. The house goes quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of neighbors living their normal, honest lives. I sit alone at the kitchen table, everything falling apart around me, finally understanding the true cost of the choices I've made. It's not just money or career or reputation. It's the trust of the people who matter most. The foundation of everything I thought I was protecting. The next morning, Roger looks like he's aged 5 years overnight. When I walk into his office, he's staring out the window at the production floor with his hands clasped behind his back in a posture I've learned means serious trouble is coming. State Revenue Department called yesterday evening. They're opening a formal investigation into our vendor relationships. My blood runs cold and I feel the floor shift beneath my feet. What kind of investigation? The kind that involves auditors, subpoenas, and federal oversight. The kind that can shut down a business if they find systemic problems. He turns to face me, and I see exhaustion mixed with anger and something that might be betrayal. 28 years I've built this company, Jake. Never had so much as a parking ticket from any regulatory agency. Now they're questioning our integrity. Roger, I asked you to look into vendor issues quietly. What did you find? This is the moment. I can continue lying and try to cover my tracks, hope the investigation doesn't uncover my involvement. Or I can tell the truth and face the consequences that will destroy everything I've worked for. I think about Tommy asking if I'm good, about Lisa packing her bags, about Michelle's concern for the company she loves, about 28 employees who trust their retirement security to a company that's been systematically robbed. Dennis has been taking kickbacks from vendors, Systematic fraud over at least 18 months. How much? Over 300,000 that I can document. Probably more. Roger's face hardens like concrete setting. When did you discover this? 4 months ago. 4 months. He sits down heavily in his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 52 years. And you said nothing. Roger, my son was dying. Tommy needed treatment that would have bankrupted us. I was desperate. So you made a deal with Dennis? Yes. What kind of deal? I don't report the fraud. He gets me promoted and provides money for Tommy's medical bills. Roger stares at me for a long time, disappointment replacing anger in his expression. It's worse than anger. Anger I could handle, but disappointment cuts deeper than any accusation. Jake, I would have helped with Tommy's bills. I would have arranged payment plans with the hospital, talked to administrators, set up a company assistance fund, taken out loans against the business if necessary. That's what leadership does, protects the team. I know that now. Do you? Because your first instinct wasn't to trust the man who hired you, who believed in you, who saw leadership potential in you. Your first instinct was to cut a deal with a thief. The words hit harder than any physical blow because they're true. I had choices, better choices, honest choices. I chose the easy path because it was faster and required less vulnerability. I'm sorry, Roger. Sorry doesn't fix this, Jake. State investigators asking questions about vendor relationships. Union representatives demanding answers about pension fund security. Insurance company questioning whether they can trust our financial reporting. He stands up and walks to the window again, looking out at employees who don't know their retirement money has been stolen. I trusted you like a son, and you sold me out for a promotion and a bonus. I'll tell the investigators everything. Full cooperation. Will you, or will you try to minimize your involvement to protect yourself? I'll tell them everything, Roger, including my own complicity. Starting now, is there anything else I need to know? This is where I could stop. The pension fund theft might not come out in the initial investigation. I could salvage something, minimize the damage to my family, hold on to whatever reputation I have left. But I think about Danny Wright's retirement plans, about Michelle's kids' college fund, about 28 employees who've been faithfully contributing to a pension fund that's been systematically raided while I stayed silent. There's more. Dennis has been diverting money from the employee pension fund, about $80,000 over the past 6 months. Roger's face goes white, and for a moment I think he might collapse. Jesus Christ, Jake! I discovered it yesterday. I was planning to tell you immediately. Were you, or were you planning to find another way to handle it quietly, another arrangement that protected your interests? I can't answer that question honestly because I don't know what I would have done if Lisa hadn't confronted me, if Tommy hadn't asked if I was good, if my conscience hadn't finally overwhelmed my fear. That afternoon, I meet with Roger privately in his office. The late autumn sun casts long shadows across his desk, and I can hear the normal sounds of the second shift starting up, machinery humming, people doing honest work while their retirement money sits in Dennis's bank account. Jake, before we bring in the investigators, I need to understand something. What? How long have you known about the pension fund theft? I discovered it 2 days ago. And in those 2 days, what was your plan? The question hangs between us like a bridge I have to choose whether to cross. I could lie, say I was planning to report it immediately. But Roger deserves better than that, and maybe I deserve the consequences of telling the truth. I don't know. I was trying to figure out how to handle it without destroying my family. Without destroying your family or without destroying yourself? Both. He nods slowly. At least you're being honest now. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting in the main conference room facing a tribunal that will determine my professional future and possibly my legal fate. State investigators, company board members, union representatives, and legal counsel from 3 different firms fill the room with the weight of serious consequences. Roger sits at the far end of the table, silent and serious, no longer the man who hired me with a handshake and a promise of opportunity. The lead investigator, a sharp-eyed woman named Sarah Chen, reviews documents while I wait for questions I've been dreading for months. Mr. Morrison, our preliminary investigation shows vendor irregularities totaling $340,000 over 18 months. When did you first become aware of these irregularities? 4 months ago. I discovered systematic overbilling by 3 major vendors, all coordinated by Dennis Palmer. And why didn't you report this immediately to company leadership? My 8-year-old son was undergoing cancer treatment. The out-of-pocket costs were going to bankrupt my family. Dennis offered me a promotion and financial assistance in exchange for my silence. The union representative, Tom Bradley, leans forward. He's worked on the floor for 20 years, knows every employee by name, understands that these aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're people's lives and futures. So you accepted money while our members' pension funds were being raided? Yes. I took a $25,000 bonus knowing it came from fraudulent vendor payments. How much of the pension fund theft were you aware of? I discovered the pension fund diversions 2 days before I reported everything to Mr. Caldwell. Board member Patricia Walsh speaks up. Mr. Morrison, you had a choice between protecting your family and protecting your colleagues' retirement security. You chose your family. Yes. Do you understand how that decision affected 28 other families? I think about Danny Wright, who asked me just last week about his retirement timeline, trusting that his money was safe. About Michelle Santos, who's been saving for her daughter's wedding. About all the people who trusted this company with their future while I stayed silent about theft. Yes. I understand that my silence allowed Dennis to continue stealing from people who deserved protection. People who trusted this company with their financial security. And you're willing to provide complete cooperation in recovering stolen funds and preventing future fraud? Complete cooperation. I'll provide all documentation, testify in any legal proceedings, and accept full responsibility for my involvement. The questioning continues for 3 hours. By the end, I've laid out every detail of my arrangement with Dennis, every payment I accepted, every moment I chose personal survival over corporate integrity. There's no hiding anymore, no minimizing, no excuses that don't sound hollow in the face of what I've helped enable. Outside the conference room, I watch security escort Dennis from the building with a box of personal items. Other employees line the hallway, whispering among themselves. Some look angry, some confused, some just tired from learning that people they trusted have been stealing from them. Dennis stops when he sees me, his face a mixture of anger and resignation. You think you're clean in this? His voice carries just loud enough for nearby employees to hear. Everyone knows you took money too. You're going down with me. Maybe, but not for 3 years of systematic theft. My mother's in memory care, Jake. She doesn't even know my name anymore, but that facility costs $8,000 a month. I was trying to take care of family just like you. Taking care of family doesn't justify stealing from other families' futures. Easy to judge when you haven't been doing it for 3 years. When you haven't been lying awake every night wondering if this is the day you get caught, if this is the day your mother gets kicked out of the only place that can care for her. Security guides him toward the exit, but his words follow me. Because there's truth in what he said. We were both trying to protect our families. The difference is scale and duration, not moral foundation. I just got caught earlier in the process. Danny Wright approaches me as the crowd disperses, his face serious but not hostile. Jake, is it true? About the pension fund? Yeah, Danny, it's true. How much? About $80,000 over 6 months. His face falls and I watch him calculate what that means for his retirement plans. That's 2 years of my contributions. Plus growth, I know. I'm sorry, did you know about it? I found out about the pension theft 2 days before I reported everything to Roger. The vendor fraud I knew about for 4 months. Why didn't you say something sooner? I could make excuses, explain about Tommy's cancer, talk about impossible choices and desperate circumstances. But Danny deserves a straight answer from someone who helped steal his future. Because I was scared, and because Dennis was helping me with my son's medical bills in exchange for my silence. Danny stares at me for a long moment, and I see him processing not just the theft, but the betrayal of trust from someone he considered a friend. Your kid, the one who was sick. Yeah, is he okay now? He's in remission. Good prognosis. I'm glad. He pauses, and I see him struggling with competing emotions. Jake, I got kids too. Grandkids. If one of them was dying and I had the power to save them, I don't know what I'd do. That doesn't excuse what I did. Number, but it explains it. He turns to walk away, then stops. Jake, I hope your boy stays healthy. And I hope you figure out how to live with what you've done. Thanks, Danny. That evening, I drive to Lisa's sister's house for the first time since they left. I haven't seen Tommy in 2 weeks, haven't slept through the night since they walked out. The house they're staying in is smaller than ours, but warm light spills from the windows and I can see Tommy through the kitchen window, doing homework at the table like normal life is still possible. Lisa meets me at the door before I can knock. How did it go? I told them everything. Complete cooperation. And I'll probably lose my job. Maybe face criminal charges. We'll have to pay back the money. She studies my face, looking for something I'm not sure I can provide. Do you regret it? Telling the truth? I regret waiting so long to tell it. That's not what I asked. I think about the question seriously. Do I regret destroying my career, my financial security, my family's stability to expose corruption that was happening anyway? Number, I don't regret it. I regret everything that led up to it. but not the choice to come forward. She nods slowly. Tommy wants to see you. Inside, Tommy looks up from math homework, his face lighting up in a way that makes my chest tight with love and shame in equal measure. Dad, I missed you. I missed you too, buddy. How's school? Good. We're learning about integrity and social studies. The word hits like a physical blow. Yeah, what about integrity? Mrs. Patterson says integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's watching and even when it costs you something important. That's a good definition. She says it's like having a compass inside you that always points to right, even when right is hard to find. Your teacher sounds smart. Dad, do you have a compass like that? I look at my son, healthy and trusting, asking the exact question I've been struggling with for months. I'm still learning how to use mine, Tommy. Sometimes I forgot to look at it when I should have. But you still have it? Yeah, I still have it. 3 weeks later, I'm back in the boardroom for the final decision. The investigation has concluded, criminal charges have been filed against Dennis, and the company has recovered most of the stolen funds through insurance claims and asset seizure. The room feels different now. Formal, final, like a courtroom where verdicts change lives. Board Chair Patricia Walsh reads the decision with the efficiency of someone who's delivered difficult news before. Jake Morrison, the investigation confirms vendor fraud totaling $340,000 and pension fund diversions of $80,000. Your eventual cooperation was instrumental in recovery efforts and prevention of further theft. I nod, waiting for the consequences I've been preparing for during sleepless nights and long conversations with lawyers I can't afford. However, your initial failure to report fraud and subsequent acceptance of fraudulent payments caused significant damage to company reputation, employee trust, and regulatory standing. Union filed formal grievances. State investigation required substantial legal costs, and insurance premiums have increased due to fraud findings. Roger speaks up, his voice heavy with disappointment, but also something that might be forgiveness. Jake, what hurts most is that you didn't trust me. I've known you for 5 years. If you'd come to me about Tommy's medical bills, we would have found a solution. Instead, you chose to handle it alone, and that choice compromised everything this company stands for. The board member continues. 6 months unpaid suspension, effective immediately. When you return, you'll be positioned as a floor supervisor, 3 levels below your current role. Full restitution of $25,000 must be completed within 12 months. You'll be on probationary status for 3 years, with any policy violations resulting in immediate termination. I understand. The board considered termination, but your eventual cooperation and the personal circumstances that led to your poor judgment were mitigating factors. After the meeting, Roger asks me to stay behind while the room empties. Jake, this breaks my heart. I know. I'm sorry I let you down. It's not about letting me down. It's about not trusting the relationship we'd built. I thought we had the kind of trust where you could come to me with problems. We did. I was just too proud to ask for help. Pride. That's what this was about? I consider the question carefully, knowing this might be my last honest conversation with the man who gave me a chance 5 years ago. Pride and fear. I couldn't handle feeling helpless when Tommy got sick. Taking Dennis's deal made me feel like I was doing something, taking control. But you weren't taking control. You were giving control to Dennis. He's right. From the moment I accepted that first arrangement, every major decision in my life has been influenced by the need to maintain our secret. What will you do now? Find a job that pays enough to cover the restitution payments. Try to rebuild my family's trust. Learn to live with what I've done. The job market's tough for someone with a fraud investigation on their record. I know, I've got a friend who runs a machine shop across town. Pays decent wages. Doesn't ask too many questions about past employment issues. You want me to make a call? The offer surprises me after everything that's happened. Roger, you don't have to do that. I'm not doing it for you, Jake. I'm doing it for Tommy and Lisa. They didn't choose any of this. 6 months later, I'm working at Anderson Machine Works, running lathes and mills for $12 an hour. It's honest work. No vendor relationships, no procurement decisions, no opportunities for moral compromise. I clock in at 7, clock out at 3:30, and spend my evenings with Tommy while Lisa slowly rebuilds trust in our marriage. We've moved to a small apartment across town, sold the house to cover legal fees and start repaying the restitution. Tommy adapted to the change better than Lisa and I did. Kids are resilient in ways adults forget how to be. He's made new friends in the neighborhood, still plays with the same enthusiasm, still asks questions that cut straight to the heart of complex issues. The marriage counseling is harder than any job I've ever had. Dr. Martinez makes us examine every assumption we've made about trust, communication, and decision-making. Lisa's anger runs deeper than I expected, rooted not just in what I did, but in how I excluded her from decisions that affected our family's future. "You didn't just lie to me about the money," she says during one particularly difficult session. "You lied about who you were. The man I married would have asked for help. The man I married would have trusted me with the truth. I was trying to protect you." From what? From having input on decisions that affected our son's life? From being treated like a partner instead of someone who needed protection? Dr. Martinez intervenes gently. "Lisa, what would you have wanted Jake to do differently?" "I would have wanted him to tell me he found evidence of fraud. I would have wanted us to discuss options together. Maybe we would have decided to report it immediately and find other ways to pay for treatment. Maybe we would have decided to approach Roger for help, but I would have wanted it to be our decision, not just his." She's right, and we all know it. I made unilateral choices that affected the entire family, then justified those choices as protection when they were really about control and fear. I was scared, I admit. I was scared of losing Tommy, scared of losing our house, scared of looking like a failure who couldn't provide for his family. So you chose to become someone who could provide, even if that someone wasn't you. 18 months after everything collapsed, I'm back at Hartwell as a floor supervisor. Same safety vest I wore 5 years ago, same production responsibilities, same view of the offices where I used to make decisions that affected hundreds of thousands of dollars. But something fundamental has changed. The work feels different now, cleaner, more direct. I solve mechanical problems, train new employees, ensure quality standards. No vendor relationships, no procurement authority, no opportunity for moral shortcuts. There's satisfaction in work that produces something tangible, something I can point to at the end of the day and say, I built that honestly. Danny Wright, now the senior floor supervisor, approaches me during lunch break. Our relationship has evolved since the investigation. Not quite friendship, but something like mutual respect earned through shared experience. "Jake, heard Tommy made honor roll again." "Yeah, he's doing great. Really great. Doctor, Webb says his 5-year prognosis is excellent." "That's wonderful news." "How's Lisa handling everything?" "Better. We're in counseling, working through trust issues. It's slow, but we're making progress." "How's your retirement planning going, Danny?" "I know the pension fund recovery took time, getting back on track. Insurance covered most of the stolen funds, and the company made up the difference with interest. We're actually in better shape than before, with new oversight procedures and independent auditing. I'm glad. Jake, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you regret it?" "Coming forward when you did?" I think about the question while watching the production line run smoothly, workers doing honest jobs for fair wages, systems functioning the way they're supposed to function when people trust each other. I regret waiting so long. But I don't regret the choice to tell the truth, even though it cost you everything. It didn't cost me everything. It cost me things I thought I needed but didn't actually need. My family, my health, my ability to sleep at night. Those things got better after I told the truth. Roger asked about you yesterday. Said he might have an opening in quality control next year. Supervisor level, step up from the floor. I appreciate that, but I'm fine where I am. You sure? It's closer to where you used to be. I look across the factory floor toward the offices where I used to work, where I made decisions that compromised everything I claimed to value. Where I used to be got me in trouble, Danny. Right now, I'm learning to be where I am. Fair enough, but Jake, people respect what you did. Coming forward when you could have stayed quiet. I didn't come forward soon enough. Maybe not, but you did come forward. That counts for something. At 5 o'clock, I walked to my used Honda Civic, no longer the truck I lost to restitution payments. The car is reliable and paid for, which is all I need. I passed the memorial plaque in the lobby, in memory of employees who built this company with integrity. My phone buzzes with a text from Lisa. Tommy's science project won first place. Celebration dinner tonight? I smile, a genuine smile that comes easier now than it did 2 years ago. I text back, on my way home. The drive takes me through neighborhoods I couldn't afford when I was director, past the hospital where Tommy received treatment that saved his life, toward the apartment complex where my family waits with homework questions and stories about their day. At a red light, I think about the man I used to be, ambitious, hardworking, convinced that providing for my family meant protecting them from difficult truths. That man made choices based on fear and pride, and those choices nearly destroyed everything he was trying to protect. The man I am now makes different choices, smaller choices mostly. Whether to tell the truth about a mistake at work, whether to ask for help when I don't understand something, whether to trust my family with problems instead of trying to solve everything alone. The light turns green, and I drive toward home, thinking about Tommy's homework and Lisa's stories from her new job at the dental clinic and the quiet satisfaction of a day's honest work. 3 years later, I have been promoted to Quality Control Supervisor, earned legitimately through consistent performance and Roger's recommendation. Tommy is cancer-free and playing Little League, arguing with umpires and complaining about batting practice like any normal 11-year-old. Lisa and I have rebuilt our marriage on a foundation of shared decision-making and financial transparency that feels stronger than what we had before. Dennis served 18 months in federal prison and now works at a hardware store, paying restitution to the company and the pension fund while visiting his mother when he can afford it. We occasionally run into each other at the grocery store, nod politely, and continue with our separate lives carrying the weight of different choices. Roger retired last year and sold the company to an employee ownership trust. Hartwell Manufacturing now operates under ethics protocols that I helped design during my probationary period, with vendor oversight systems and independent auditing that make fraud nearly impossible. When new employees ask me about integrity during training sessions, I tell them, it's not about never making mistakes. It's about having the courage to admit mistakes when you make them and accepting the cost of making things right. Some lessons can only be learned through experience. Some prices can only be paid in full over time. But sometimes, if you're willing to do the hard work of rebuilding from the ground up, you can create something better than what you had before. The corner office with the big windows belongs to someone else now, someone who earned it through the right combination of skill and character. And that's exactly how it should be. I used to think being a good man meant providing for your family no matter what it cost. Now I know being a good man means providing the right example for your family, regardless of what it costs you personally. Tommy still asks questions about right and wrong, but now his questions don't feel like accusations. They feel like opportunities to practice the kind of honesty I should have been using all along. Dad, what's the difference between a mistake and a bad choice? A mistake is when you don't know better. A bad choice is when you do know better but choose wrong anyway. Which one did you make? Both. I made mistakes because I was scared and didn't ask for help. But I also made bad choices because I thought the rules didn't apply to me when my family needed something. But you fixed it. I'm still fixing it, buddy. That's what you do when you make bad choices. You spend time making them right. How long does it take? However long it takes. He nods, satisfied with an answer that would have frustrated me at his age. But children understand justice in ways adults sometimes forget. They know that fixing things takes time, and they're willing to wait for the work to be done properly. That night, after Tommy's asleep and Lisa's reading in bed, I sit at the kitchen table with our monthly budget. Bills are tight but manageable. Restitution payments are on schedule with 18 months remaining. Savings account is slowly growing again, dollar by dollar, honest dollar by honest dollar. It's not the life I planned 5 years ago when I thought success meant corner offices and management titles. But it's a life I can live with, a life I can defend to my son when he asks hard questions about right and wrong. More importantly, it's a life I can be proud of. Not proud of what I did, but proud of what I chose to do when I finally understood the cost of staying silent. The price of silence turned out to be everything I thought I was protecting. The cost of honesty was everything I thought I couldn't afford to lose. But what I've learned is that you can lose everything and still have what matters most, if you're willing to rebuild it the right way. Some compasses point north. Some point to what's easy. The ones worth following point to what's right. Even when right leads through difficult terrain, even when the path costs more than you want to pay. I've still got work to do, people to make amends to, trust to rebuild one conversation at a time, payments to make until the debt is fully settled. But I'm finally heading in the right direction, and that makes all the difference. 5 years from now, when Tommy's 16 and asking bigger questions about how to live in a complicated world, I'll be able to tell him about integrity not as a concept, but as a choice. The hardest choice I ever made and the best choice I ever made. 10 years from now, when some crisis tests his character, the way cancer tested mine, he'll remember not the man who took shortcuts when times got hard, but the man who found his way back to doing right when it mattered most. That's the real inheritance I want to leave him. Not money or success or even security, but the knowledge that good people can make terrible mistakes and still find their way back to being good. That redemption is possible if you're willing to pay the full price for it. Some stories end with victory. Some end with justice. This one ends with something harder to achieve and more valuable to keep. The quiet satisfaction of living with integrity, one honest choice at a time.
I'm freezing. I'm bleeding, slowly fading away. But don't worry, I'm fine. The cold has settled in my heartbeat, like winter living in my veins. Every breath feels numb and fragile, every smile just hides the pain. I'm breaking quietly in silence, falling slow without a sound. Yet I keep saying I'm okay, while my world burns to the ground. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. Maybe pain just learned to live here, maybe sorrow feels like home. So I wear my wounds like armor and survive them all alone. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. If you ever see me smiling, no, it's just my last defense. 'Cause sometimes love means hiding how much you're suffering. No, I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. It's okay. Don't pity me. My heart doesn't need your mercy. I can still stand on my own. I was broken by your leaving, fell deeper than I thought I would. But pain has taught me how to heal now and survive what once I couldn't. You don't have to look back sadly, don't reach out with guilty hands. What you shattered made me stronger, now I rise where I once collapsed. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow, I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling, I'll learn to breathe again. I once begged for your affection, now I've learned my worth in scars. And the man you left in pieces found his own way through the dark. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another save me, darling. I'll learn to breathe again. So keep your sympathy behind you. I don't need what's left undone. Sometimes losing who once broke you is how healing has begun. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow. I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling. I'll rise alone again. I'll rise alone